Commander Jack Hoffman stood at the large window of the USS Celestial, watching the stars. Today was important. After years of sending messages back and forth, humans would finally meet the Zoraxians face to face. "Commander, the conference room is ready," said Lieutenant Olivia Grant as she walked up beside him. Jack nodded. "Are we prepared for all their customs?" "Yes, sir. I've studied their greeting rituals for months. The crew knows to bow their heads and keep their hands visible at all times. The Zoraxians see hidden hands as a sign of dishonesty." "Good work, Lieutenant. This meeting will set the tone for humanity's relationship with the Zoraxians for years to come." They walked together down the long hallway of the ship. The USS Celestial was Earth's best diplomatic vessel, built specifically for first contact situations. Every detail had been carefully planned to make aliens feel welcome, while still showing off human achievements. Jack entered the conference room and inspected it one last time. The large oval table gleamed under the soft lights. Chairs were adjusted to fit both human and Zoraxian body types. In the corner stood a new addition, a shiny coffee machine with a digital screen and many buttons. "What's this?" Jack asked, pointing at the machine. Chief Engineer Sam Wilson looked up from where he was making final adjustments. "It's the new Brewmaster 9000, sir. Earth Command sent it as a showcase of human engineering. It can make over 300 types of coffee drinks from around the world." Jack frowned slightly. "Is it really necessary?" The higher-ups thought it would be a nice touch. Show the Zoraxians something about our culture. Everyone at Command is proud of it. It has specialized brewing algorithms that adjust flavor profiles to match the drinker's preferences. "Well, just make sure it doesn't interrupt the meeting." Sam nodded. "It's programmed to stay quiet unless someone activates it, though it does have a scheduled brewing time to prepare coffee for the end of the meeting." Jack checked the time. "The Zoraxian ship will dock in 30 minutes, do a final check of everything." The crew moved with purpose as they prepared for the historic meeting. Lieutenant Grant reviewed her cultural notes one more time, while Communications Officer Greg Peters tested the translation devices. Medical Officer Kate Davis stood ready in case the Zoraxians had any unexpected reactions to the ship's environment. When the ship's computer announced the arrival of the Zoraxian vessel, Jack straightened his uniform and took a deep breath. "Remember," he told the crew, "these beings have technology far beyond ours. They could have destroyed us years ago if they wanted to. The fact that they chose diplomacy is a good sign. Let's not mess this up." Everyone nodded in understanding. The first glimpse of the Zoraxians left the humans in awe. They were tall, with bluish-gray skin that seemed to shimmer under the lights. Their four eyes blinked in different patterns, and they moved with a grace that made them appear as if they were floating rather than walking. Ambassador Krelzor led the delegation of 5 Zoraxians. When they entered the conference room, Lieutenant Grant stepped forward and performed the greeting ritual perfectly. 3 small bows while keeping her eyes lowered but not completely down. The Zoraxians responded with their own ritual movements. The tension in the room eased slightly. "Welcome aboard the USS Celestial," Jack said, his words being translated by the small device on the table. "We are honored by your presence." Ambassador Krelzor's reply came through the translator with only a slight delay. "The honor is mutual, Commander Hoffman. The Zoraxian Federation looks forward to establishing meaningful relations with humanity." The meeting began well. Both sides exchanged information about their histories and cultures. The humans were careful to follow all the protocols Lieutenant Grant had outlined, and the Zoraxians seemed pleased by the effort. An hour into the meeting, Ambassador Krelzor was explaining the Zoraxian view on space territories when it happened. The coffee machine in the corner suddenly lit up. Its screen flashed with blue light as it began its pre-programmed brewing cycle. Water moved through the system, creating a hissing sound. The beans ground with a mechanical whir. Steam escaped with a high-pitched whistle. The effect on the Zoraxians was immediate and shocking. All 5 aliens froze mid-motion. Their skin changed color, darkening to a deep navy blue. Ambassador Krelzor's 4 eyes widened, then narrowed to slits. "Ambassador?" Jack asked, confused by the sudden change. Is something wrong? The Zoraxians stood in perfect unison. No one spoke. The only sound in the room was the continued gurgling of the coffee machine as it finished its brewing cycle. Lieutenant Grant frantically checked her notes, trying to understand what had happened. "Commander," she whispered urgently, "something's very wrong, but I don't know what triggered this reaction." The Zoraxian ambassador finally spoke, but not to the humans. He gave a series of quick commands to his delegation in their native language, bypassing the translation devices. Then he turned to Jack. His voice was flat when he spoke. "This meeting is concluded. We will return to our vessel now. Ambassador, if we've done something to offend you, please allow us to—" Jack began, but Krelzor raised a hand to silence him. "We will communicate further through established channels," the ambassador said. "Escort us to our shuttle." The humans watched in stunned silence as the Zoraxian delegation filed out of the conference room. Their movements were stiff, their expressions unreadable to human eyes. When they were gone, Jack turned to his crew. "What just happened?" Sam Wilson looked at the coffee machine, which had finished brewing and now sat innocently with a full pot of steaming coffee. "I don't know, sir, but it started when the coffee machine turned on." Lieutenant Grant was already accessing the ship's database. "I need to review everything we have on Zoraxian communication patterns. Something about that machine must have triggered a cultural offense." "Fix this, Lieutenant," Jack ordered. "We need to know what went wrong before they reach their ship. If we've accidentally insulted them—" He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Everyone in the room understood what was at stake. Humanity's first face-to-face contact with an advanced alien civilization had just gone terribly wrong, and they had no idea why. As if to mock them, the coffee machine beeped cheerfully, announcing that the coffee was ready to serve. Captain Diana Martinez stared at the screen in disbelief. The message from Earth Command was clear but seemed impossible. Zoraxian warships were moving across their territory, forming what appeared to be attack formations. All diplomatic channels had gone silent. "How could this happen?" she asked the room. "They were here for peaceful talks just 6 hours ago." Commander Jack Hoffman stood with his hands clasped behind his back. His face showed the strain of the last few hours. "We still don't know what went wrong, Captain," he said. "Lieutenant Grant has been analyzing the recording of the meeting non-stop." As if summoned by her name, Lieutenant Olivia Grant rushed into the command center. Her uniform was wrinkled, and dark circles had formed under her eyes. "I think I found it," she said, her voice breathless. "The coffee machine." Captain Martinez frowned. "The coffee machine? Be more specific, Lieutenant." "The sounds it made during the brewing cycle," Grant explained. She pulled up an audio file on her tablet and played it. The familiar hissing, gurgling, and whirring filled the room. "Now listen to this," she said, playing another audio file. This one contained strange, guttural sounds that were clearly not human. "That's a recording of an ancient Zoraxian death threat," Grant explained. "It's reserved only for their most hated enemies. The specific pattern translates roughly to, 'Your offspring will drown in the blood of your ancestors.'" A heavy silence fell over the command center. "You're telling me," Captain Martinez said slowly, "that our coffee machine accidentally threatened the Zoraxians?" "Not just threatened them," Grant corrected. "It delivered one of the worst insults possible in their culture, and it did it during a formal diplomatic meeting, which in their eyes makes it an official statement from humanity." Jack ran a hand through his hair. "How could a coffee machine produce those exact sounds?" "I need to find Sam," Grant said. "He installed the machine." They found Chief Engineer Sam Wilson in his workshop, the dismantled coffee machine spread across his workbench. Parts and circuit boards lay everywhere. "I've been trying to figure out what went wrong," he explained when they told him about Grant's discovery. "This model uses sound vibrations as part of its brewing process. The company calls it acoustic extraction technology. It's supposed to make better coffee." Sam pulled up the machine's programming on his computer. "Look here. The brewing algorithm produces sound frequencies in ranges that are pleasant to human ears, but mostly below our hearing threshold. but those frequencies match exactly with the range Zoraxians use for formal speech. So our cutting-edge coffee machine accidentally spoke to them in their own language, Jack said. And what it said was deeply offensive. That's putting it mildly, Grant added. In their culture, this kind of insult from an official representative would demand a military response. Captain Martinez's communicator beeped. Martinez here. Captain, we're receiving a transmission from Admiral Paul Lawrence, said Communications Officer Greg Peters. Put him through to my private channel, she ordered. I'll take it in my quarters. When she returned 10 minutes later, her face was grim. The Zoraxian fleet is advancing toward New Eden Colony. Earth Command has ordered us to maintain position while they try to explain the misunderstanding. Will they listen? Jack asked. So far, all attempts at communication have failed, she replied. They're not responding to any messages. Lieutenant Grant studied her cultural notes. In Zoraxian culture, an insult this severe can't be undone with simple words. They believe actions speak louder than apologies. What action would convince them we meant no harm? Sam asked. Before anyone could answer, the ship's alert system activated. Red lights flashed throughout the vessel. Captain, to the bridge, came Greg's voice over the intercom. We're detecting multiple warp signatures. The Zoraxian fleet has changed course. They rushed to the bridge. The main screen showed dozens of red dots moving in formation. 53 warships, Greg reported. Their current trajectory will bring them to New Eden in less than 48 hours. Captain Martinez took her chair. Open a channel to Earth. Command. While they waited for the connection, Jack turned to Lieutenant Grant. Keep working on this. There has to be a cultural solution, some way to undo the insult. I'll go through everything we have on Zoraxian customs, she promised. Sam. Wilson looked thoughtful. Maybe the coffee machine is both the problem and the solution. What do you mean? Jack asked. If it accidentally created one message in their language, maybe we can program it to create a different message. An apology. Grant's eyes widened. That's actually not a bad idea, but we'd need to know the exact sound pattern for a formal apology. Get on it, Captain Martinez ordered as the Earth Command signal came through. The rest of you prepare for emergency protocols. If diplomacy fails, we need to be ready to evacuate New Eden. The next 12 hours passed in a blur of activity. The USS Celestial maintained its position, tracking the advancing Zoraxian fleet while Earth's diplomatic corps tried every channel to explain the misunderstanding. Sam worked tirelessly in his workshop, trying to modify the coffee machine's brewing algorithm. Grant scoured the cultural database for anything that might help. Jack found her asleep at her desk, surrounded by data pads. He gently shook her awake. Any progress? He asked. Grant rubbed her eyes. Maybe. I found references to something called a song of contrition in ancient Zoraxian texts. It's a specific sound pattern that communicates sincere regret. Do we know what it sounds like? Not exactly, she admitted, but I've pieced together some descriptions. It should have a rising tone followed by 3 distinct pulses and a long descending note. Jack's communicator beeped. It was Sam. Commander, I think I've got something. The machine's sound pattern can be reprogrammed. If Lieutenant Grant can give me the acoustic signature we need, I might be able to make this work. Jack looked at Grant. It's worth a try. We're running out of options. They were interrupted by another ship-wide alert. Captain Martinez's voice came over the intercom. All senior officers to the bridge immediately. The Zoraxian fleet has increased speed. They'll reach New Eden in 12 hours. As they hurried to the bridge, Jack knew they were running out of time. A simple beverage machine had accidentally started this crisis. Now they could only hope it might somehow help end it. The bridge of the USS Celestial was silent except for the soft beeping of instruments. Everyone watched the main screen where 53 red dots moved steadily toward New Eden Colony. Each dot represented a Zoraxian warship. 8 hours until they reached the colony, Greg said, breaking the silence. Captain Martinez nodded. What's the evacuation status? 30% complete, Officer Kate Davis reported. But there's no way we can get everyone off the planet in time. Commander Jack Hoffman paced back and forth. He had been on the bridge for hours, watching the situation grow worse. Every attempt to contact the Zoraxians had failed. Earth Command had sent official apologies through every channel, but the alien fleet continued its advance. Jack's communicator beeped. Hoffman here. Commander, it's Sam. I need you in the workshop right away. And bring Lieutenant Grant. Jack found Olivia. Grant in the data center. She looked exhausted but determined. Any progress? He asked. She held up a data pad. I think so. I found more information about the Zoraxian Song of Contrition. It's complex, but I've mapped out the sound pattern as best I can. Sam wants us in his workshop, Jack said. He might have something. When they arrived, they found Sam standing next to the reassembled coffee machine. It looked different now, with extra components attached to its sides and a new control panel on top. I've completely rebuilt the brewing mechanism, Sam explained. It can now produce exact sound frequencies in the Zoraxian speech range. He pointed to a screen showing wave patterns. If Lieutenant Grant's information is correct, this should produce their Song of Contrition. How sure are you this will work? Jack asked. Sam and Olivia exchanged glances. Not very, Sam admitted. We're working with limited information and jury-rigged equipment. It's our best shot, Olivia added. The cultural database suggests this sound pattern is sacred to them. It's used to express deep, sincere regret. Jack studied the machine. A simple coffee maker modified to possibly prevent a war. It seemed absurd, but they had no better options. His communicator beeped again. Commander, return to the bridge immediately, Captain Martinez ordered. When they arrived, the captain was reviewing a message from Earth Command. They've ordered us to fall back, she said. All ships are to retreat from the New Eden system. Can't just abandon the colony, Jack protested. Those are our orders, she replied firmly. The evacuation will continue, but we're to withdraw to a safe distance. Jack looked at the screen, at the thousands of people still on New Eden. Then he looked at the modified coffee machine Sam had carried to the bridge. Captain, he said slowly, I have an idea, but it goes against direct orders. Captain Martinez raised an eyebrow. I'm listening. We position ourselves between the Zoraxian fleet and New Eden. We request direct communication with their flagship and use the coffee machine to broadcast the Song of Contrition. That's extremely risky, the captain said. If it doesn't work, we'll be right in their firing line. We need to try something, Jack insisted. The evacuation won't be complete in time. There's more, Olivia added. We just received a message from Earth. Elizabeth Carter, our veteran diplomat, found something in ancient Zoraxian texts. She confirms that an unintentional insult can be counteracted by this specific sound pattern. Captain Martinez was silent for a long moment. Then she straightened her uniform. Set course to intercept the Zoraxian fleet, she ordered. Full power to shields. The bridge crew moved quickly to their stations. The USS Celestial changed direction, heading directly toward the advancing alien armada. Open a direct channel to the Zoraxian flagship, the captain commanded. Request communication with Ambassador Krelzor. Minutes passed as they waited for a response. The Zoraxian fleet continued its advance. They're responding, Greg said suddenly. Text only. They'll permit one final communication before they reach New Eden. Send our video request, the captain ordered. Let's show them what we have. More tense minutes passed. The red dots on the screen grew closer. Incoming transmission, Greg announced. They've accepted the video call. The main screen changed to show Ambassador Krelzor. His blue-gray skin was now a dark purple, a sign of extreme anger in Zoraxians. This will be our final communication before we reach your colony, the ambassador said, his voice cold. The insult your people delivered cannot be forgotten or forgiven. Captain Martinez stepped forward. Ambassador, there has been a terrible misunderstanding. The sounds you heard in our meeting room were not intended as communication. They came from a beverage-making machine. The ambassador's four eyes narrowed. Do you expect us to believe you accidentally produced the exact pattern of our most sacred death threat? It's the truth, Jack said, stepping into view. And to prove our Sincerity, we wish to offer the song of contrition. This seemed to surprise the ambassador. His color lightened slightly. You know of this ancient custom? He asked. We have studied your culture with great respect, Jack replied. What happened was a tragic accident. Please accept our contrition. He nodded to Sam, who activated the modified coffee machine. The sound that filled the bridge was unlike anything the humans had heard before. It started as a low hum, rising slowly in pitch until it reached a wavering note. Then came 3 distinct pulses, like heartbeats, followed by a long, descending tone that faded to silence. On the screen, Ambassador Krell-Zor and the Zoraxians behind him stood perfectly still. Their skin changed color rapidly, cycling through shades of blue and purple. Then, to everyone's shock, the ambassador raised all 4 of his hands in a gesture the humans had never seen before. How is it possible? He asked, his voice now filled with wonder rather than anger. That humans know the Song of the Forebears? This sacred sound has not been produced by non-Zoraxians in thousands of years. Jack looked at Olivia, who gave a small nod of encouragement. Ambassador, Jack said carefully, we offer this song as proof of our respect for your culture and our deep regret at the unintentional insult. The Zoraxian was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke again. I require an explanation. How did humans come to possess knowledge of our most sacred apology ritual? Jack looked at the screen where Ambassador Krell-Zor waited for an explanation. This was the moment that could determine the fate of New Eden Colony, and possibly all relations between humans and Zoraxians. Ambassador, Jack began carefully, we learned of your sacred apology ritual through our studies of your culture. But the truth is, we didn't fully understand its significance until now. He gestured to the modified coffee machine. This is the same device that caused the original misunderstanding. It's a machine humans use to make a hot beverage called coffee. Sam stepped forward with the coffee machine. We reprogrammed it to produce the sound pattern of your ritual, based on what we could learn from our cultural database. The ambassador's 4 eyes blinked in an uneven pattern. You're saying this device first insulted us by accident and now apologizes to us. Also by accident? Not by accident this time, Jack clarified. We deliberately modified it to produce the song of contrition. But yes, the original insult was completely unintentional. There was a long silence. The humans on the bridge held their breath. The fate of thousands of colonists hung in the balance. Then something unexpected happened. Ambassador Krell-Zor made a strange sound, a series of short, pulsing noises. Behind him, other Zoraxians began making similar sounds. Lieutenant Grant's eyes widened. I think they're laughing, she whispered. The ambassador's skin color shifted to a light blue. In all my years of diplomatic service, he said, I have never encountered anything so absurd. A beverage machine that nearly started a war between our species. Captain Martinez stepped forward. Ambassador, we deeply regret the misunderstanding. The machine was programmed to brew coffee at a specific time. We had no idea it would sound like a threat in your language, and yet you were able to program it to produce the sacred song of the forebears, the ambassador noted. This is most curious. We have great respect for your culture, Olivia said. Once we understood what happened, we searched our database for a way to make amends according to your customs. The ambassador seemed to consider this. You went to great lengths to correct a mistake you did not initially understand. This speaks well of humanity. He turned to speak with the other Zoraxians in their native language. The discussion continued for several minutes while the humans waited anxiously. Finally, the ambassador turned back to the screen. The Zoraxian High Council has reviewed your explanation. We accept that the insult was unintentional. The fleet will stand down. A wave of relief swept through the bridge. Greg let out a breath he'd been holding, and Kate wiped away a tear. However, the ambassador continued, this incident raises important questions about our communication methods. I request permission to board your vessel with a small delegation to examine this coffee machine. Captain Martinez nodded. We would be honored, Ambassador. 2 hours later, A Zoraxian shuttle docked with the USS Celestial. Ambassador Krelzor and 3 other Zoraxians were escorted to the ship's conference room where the original meeting had taken place. The coffee machine sat in the center of the table, modified with Sam's additional components. "May I?" the ambassador asked, pointing to the machine. "Of course," Sam replied. "Would you like me to explain how it works?" What followed was an unusual technical discussion. The Zoraxians examined the coffee machine with great interest, asking detailed questions about its sound production capabilities. "Our species relies heavily on acoustic communication," one of the Zoraxian scientists explained. "Certain sound frequencies carry deep cultural meaning for us. That your machine could produce them so precisely is remarkable." "It was completely unintentional," Sam admitted. "The brewing process creates those sounds as a byproduct." The ambassador ran a slender finger along the machine's control panel. "And now you've modified it to produce the Song of the Forebears. Do you know what this song means to us?" Olivia consulted her notes. "Our records indicate it's a formal apology ritual used to express sincere regret." "It is much more than that," the ambassador said. "It is one of our oldest cultural artifacts. According to our history, it was the sound pattern used by our ancestors to make peace after the Great Schism that nearly destroyed our civilization. It hasn't been heard in its proper form for generations." Jack looked surprised. "You mean we accidentally recreated something your own people have lost?" "Not lost," the ambassador corrected. "Simply not used. The modern Zoraxian culture rarely has need for such formal contrition. But hearing it again," he paused. "It was deeply moving." The ambassador turned to Captain Martinez. "Captain, I propose a full cultural exchange focused on acoustic communication. This incident has shown us how easily misunderstandings can occur, but also how they can be resolved." "We would welcome that," the captain replied. The ambassador looked at the coffee machine again. "And I believe this device should be the centerpiece of our exchange. The machine that nearly started a war, but ultimately brought our species closer together." Lieutenant Grant stepped forward with a suggestion. "Ambassador, what if we created a joint research project? Humans and Zoraxians working together to study the relationship between your acoustic language and our technologies." "An excellent proposal," the ambassador agreed. "And perhaps we might also explore this beverage you call coffee. Its production created quite interesting sounds." Sam smiled. "I'd be happy to brew you a cup, Ambassador. Though I'm not sure your biology would allow you to drink it." "Perhaps not," the ambassador said, his skin shifting to a lighter shade of blue. "But in my culture, we believe that understanding begins with appreciation, not necessarily consumption." As the humans and Zoraxians continued their discussion, Jack stepped back and observed the scene with amazement. Just hours ago, they had been on the brink of war. Now they were planning cultural exchanges and joint research projects, all because of a coffee machine that made the wrong sounds at the wrong time, and then the right sounds when they needed it most. 6 months had passed since the coffee machine incident. The USS Celestial floated in space near Earth's orbit, decorated with both human and Zoraxian symbols. Today marked the official signing of the Earth-Zoraxian Friendship Treaty, the first formal alliance between the two species. Jack Hoffman, now promoted to captain after Commander Diana Martinez took a position at Earth Command, adjusted his new uniform as he walked down the hallway. The past months had been busy with diplomatic meetings, cultural exchanges, and the creation of new communication protocols. Captain Hoffman called Olivia Grant, now serving as the head of the new Xenocultural Communications Department. "The Zoraxian delegation has arrived. Ambassador Krelzor is asking for you specifically." Jack nodded. "I'll be right there." They walked together toward the ship's main hall, which had been transformed for the ceremony. Representatives from Earth and 7 Zoraxian worlds filled the room, talking in small groups. In the center stood a special glass case on a pedestal. Inside the case was the coffee machine that had started it all. A small plaque attached to the case read in both human and Zoraxian languages, "The little machine that almost started a war." Ambassador. Krelzor stood beside the case, his skin a calm shade of blue that humans now recognized as indicating pleasure. When he saw Jack, he raised two hands in the human greeting gesture they had taught him. Captain Hoffman, the ambassador said warmly. It is good to see you again. The honor is mine, Ambassador, Jack replied with a small bow. The ambassador gestured to the coffee machine. Your people have an interesting custom of preserving historical objects. I find it quite meaningful that this device now sits at the center of our treaty signing. It seemed appropriate, Jack said. Sometimes the biggest problems lead to the best solutions. Indeed. On my homeworld, the story of the coffee machine has become quite popular. Our younglings particularly enjoy hearing about how a beverage maker nearly caused an interstellar conflict. Jack smiled. It's become a popular story on Earth too. There's even talk of making it part of basic training for all diplomatic personnel. Sam Wilson approached them, carrying a data pad. In the months since the incident, he had worked closely with Zoraxian engineers to develop new communication safeguards. Captain, Ambassador, he greeted them. The sound analysis protocol is complete. Once implemented, no human technology will accidentally produce offensive sounds in Zoraxian frequency ranges. Excellent work, the ambassador said. Though I must admit, without that initial misunderstanding, we might not be here today celebrating this alliance. A soft chime sounded, indicating that the ceremony was about to begin. Guests moved to their seats as Captain Jack took his place at the front of the room beside Earth's head diplomat, Alan Foster. The treaty signing proceeded with careful attention to both human and Zoraxian customs. When the final signatures were applied, the room filled with applause from the humans and the soft rhythmic sounds that indicated Zoraxian approval. After the formal ceremony, guests mingled during the reception. Jack found himself standing near the coffee machine display with Ambassador Krelzor and a group of human and Zoraxian officials. Have you heard about the latest cultural development? The ambassador asked. A group of young Zoraxians has become fascinated with coffee. They drink it? Jack asked, surprised. No. Our biology cannot process it safely, but they appreciate the aroma. Coffee shops have opened on two of our worlds where Zoraxians gather to smell different coffee varieties while engaging in philosophical discussions. Coffee shop philosophy, Jack said with a smile. That's a very human tradition, too. Olivia joined them, accompanied by a Zoraxian cultural expert named Vrental. They had been working together on a comprehensive translation system. We've made a breakthrough, Olivia announced. Vrental and I have developed a universal translator that incorporates coffee machine sounds as a form of punctuation in Zoraxian diplomatic speech. A fitting tribute, the ambassador said, using the sounds that nearly drove us apart to help bring us together. Sam approached with a small device in his hand. Speaking of sounds, I've been asked to give you this, Ambassador. He handed over what looked like a miniature version of the original coffee machine. What is it? The ambassador asked, examining the device. It's a portable sound generator, Sam explained. It can produce a perfect version of the Song of the Forebears whenever you need it. We thought it might be useful in your future diplomatic missions. The ambassador's skin shifted to a deep blue, a sign of deep emotion among Zoraxians. This is a thoughtful gift. Our historians and cultural preservationists will be most grateful. As the reception continued, Jack stepped away for a moment to look out the large window at the stars. He thought about how close they had come to war, all because of a simple coffee machine. Kate Davis, the ship's medical officer, joined him at the window. Penny for your thoughts, Captain? I was just thinking about how random the universe can be, Jack replied. 1 minute you're making coffee, the next you're accidentally declaring war on an alien civilization. Kate laughed. And now look at us. Joint research projects, cultural exchanges, diplomatic treaties. All because of a misunderstanding. Maybe that's how the best relationships start, Jack said, by working through misunderstandings together. Across the room, a group of Zoraxian engineers were examining the coffee machine in its case, while Sam enthusiastically explained how the brewing process worked. Nearby, Olivia and several human diplomats were practicing Zoraxian sound patterns under Vrentel's guidance. The ceremony concluded with a joint announcement of the establishment of the Interspecies Acoustic Research Center, to be built in neutral space between Earth and Zoraxian territory. Its mission would be to study all forms of sound-based communication and prevent future misunderstandings. As Jack watched humans and Zoraxians working together, he couldn't help but smile at the irony. Humanity's first major diplomatic crisis with an advanced alien species had been caused by a coffee machine, and now that same machine had become a symbol of peace and cooperation. Sometimes Jack thought the universe had a strange sense of humor, and sometimes that was exactly what was needed to bring different worlds together.